What's up, Alex?
What's going on, my brother? How you doing?
Man, I'm good. I'm good.
Love it.
Life is good. What about you?
I could complain, but who would listen, you know?
I would.
See, that's why we're brothers, man.
Amen.
That's why we're brothers.
What you
But
got?
welcome to another episode of the Three Pillars of Man. Of course, host Alex James.
Addison Corbin.
And today we're going to talk about love,
Love. Self-love.
self-love.
Let's do it.
And so today's podcast episode title is Love Starts Here: The Role of Self-Love in Mastering Manhood. And I'm going to open up with this quote here. The love you fail to give yourself becomes a silence that echoes in every choice you make.
Yeah.
This is to provide a little bit more context behind the quote. Self love is often misunderstood. For many men, it feels foreign or even weak. But in truth, self love is the foundation of strength, clarity, and purpose. Today, we're just going to explore why learning to love ourselves is one of the more important steps a man can take towards self mastery and healthy relationships. So, I think to start this episode, to start our first discussion topic, we're just going to provide our own definitions of self love. So, I'm going to start with you, my brother. What do you think self love is, and what does it look like for you?
Yeah, man. I think it's about taking care of yourself.
Mhm.
And it goes back to why we started this podcast is mind, body, spirit
Yeah,
the entire way.
right.
Because everything that you've got to do in life is based off of yourself.
Yeah,
Right? Every decision you make, every action that you take, everything that you do is simply based off of how well you carry yourself,
absolutely.
right? And how
Absolutely.
you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
What about you? What does it mean to you?
I like how you said it starts with you.
Hmm.
And we've done episodes where even our first episode was about controlling what you can control.
Yeah,
So I think one of the first steps in self love is understanding that I can only control my actions, my emotions,
yeah,
how I react to things. And so I feel like once you make that discovery within yourself, then you can start really just doing more of the homework as far as like, okay, who am I? What do I like? What I like to do? What will I not tolerate? And so I feel like sometimes we get so caught up in the chaos of life, not realizing that maybe this chaos is happening to me because there's internal chaos within myself.
yeah,
And so when we finally discover that, okay, I'm having the same outcome. But I'll give you an example. Like if you're in a relationship, right? And it's like, you're dating one person, it ends however it ends. Second person you date ends the same way. The third person you date, it ends the same way. Over time, you have to really look at the situations that you were in, and you have to really sit there and be like, hmm, there's a common denominator here.
yeah,
Is it the women or is it me? Or is it me picking a certain type of woman because of just, maybe something in your something traumatic happened in your childhood, or you're just, I don't know, there's something within you that picks a certain woman and it brings a certain chaos in your life. And I'm just giving a relationship example, but you can apply it to whether it's business or even brotherhood,
yeah,
like just, things happening in your environment and the same common thing is happening. And what tends to happen is we don't have self accountability. We like to blame everybody else what's going on, but we don't really take the time to really focus on that internal chaos that's going on.
yeah,
So that's my definition is really one, understanding that okay, I am the essentially the master of my fate, the captain of my soul. I control everything, as far as my emotions, my actions, and then also just really applying those things. So I think the next thing I want to talk about, man, is what are some things that you personally do? Like whether it's like it could be working out or skincare, whatever it is. Like
yeah.
what are some things that you do that you categorize as self love?
Definitely taking care of yourself and the idea of like physically,
Yeah.
right? And that's been the case since as long as I can remember,
Yeah.
is that physical activity because that, especially jujitsu. And I've been out of jujitsu for probably a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
And I can definitely tell,
Yeah.
but it's not as bad as it used to be,
Right.
right? If I didn't go to the gym one day, uh, I mean, I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it got to the point where I don't think that it was actually self-love. It was more of self deprivation
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things that I think self-love is what you do for yourself
Mm-hmm.
without anybody else's thought process into it.
Right.
Which is hard to actually get to that point because everything that we do, or a lot of times, is based off of the perception or the thought. Going back to the what would you do if your father was gone,
Yeah.
right? That whole mentality, and being able to ask yourself the questions like, am I doing this for me, or
Right.
am I doing this for somebody else, or
Right.
whatever that is, and for me that it can get a little messy occasionally,
Yeah, for sure.
right? But also with the thought process of having that secondary thought of like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Mm.
Let me ask you this, man. Why as men do we look at self-love like it's a weak trait
Yeah.
or a weak thing to do?
Well, I mean, because that it's just how that's the whole mantra,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Like you got to be a hard human being, and there is no space for softness. That's a feminine trait,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, I always I feel like just within myself now, like just and even like it's one of my things that I've like discovered about myself in my 30s is just like now I'm really trying to deep dive as far as like what does Alex James like to do? Who is Alex James? Like,
Mm.
just really deep diving within myself. And, I think, asking myself that question is like, why it's not that I don't love myself, but it's
Yeah,
also, there's that negative,
yeah,
cognition with it where it's like, oh, you can't do that. That's,
yeah.
that's what,
It's that self-limited belief.
right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, you can't do that. That's what, that's a feminine thing to do.
Hmm.
Or, like my fiance tells me about, taking care of yourself, going to the chiropractor, going to
Hmm.
getting massages, make sure you take care of your skin. Like she
Hmm.
always on me about taking care of my skin. Make sure
Hmm.
you're just have a skin routine, all that. And,
Yeah.
in the beginning of my relationship with her, it was like, I don't know, I just need a bar of soap, whatever, like,
Mhm.
like, right, right,
Let it be.
let's be, and then, when it came to the physical part of it, where it's like, the massages and doing
Hmm.
all that, it's like, look, if something like truly hurts, I'll go do that, but,
Yeah.
for the most part, it's just like, okay, I'm sore, I'll just go to the gym and maybe, I might not lift as heavy, but I'm still doing some type of motion.
Yeah.
So, but as as I continue on this journey and continue to think more about it, it's more of just doing that preventative maintenance,
Yeah.
right? So it's just making sure, like, hey, you had a hard week of, working out jujitsu, whatever, that Saturday, go get those nuts, rubbed
Worked
out
out.
your
Yeah.
worked
Yeah.
out, or go to the chiropractor and get adjusted, and you just think about it, man, we're just getting older and,
Yeah.
it's like, we feel great now, we're in the early 30s, but
Yeah.
as we continue to get older, man, that stuff's going to be even more important to do.
Right.
And so it's like, why not do it now?
Yeah.
So, that's, I think for me, that's what it's been where it's like, self-love is not a masculine or feminine thing.
Yeah.
It's a individual thing, a people thing.
Yeah.
This is the first foundation into being able to love people correctly as well. because it's like, I mean, you think about it, man, like we've both been in, whether it's like, what do you call situationships or relationships or
Yeah.
whatever, where, they went completely sour and it's just like, and then even you think about like on hindsight 2020, where it's like, think about like the boundaries you have now, and then you look back and you're like, well, I can't believe I used to put up with that.
Yeah.
And so it's just it's a funny thing, man, because it's like it's not that person's fault that they did what they did. That's just who they are.
Yeah.
But it's our fault because we didn't have enough love for ourselves to put up boundaries and say, hey, that's enough.
Yeah.
Like, and it could be with significant other, it could be with your brothers,
Yeah.
or just people,
Yeah. Just anybody in your life.
Exactly, man.
What are you willing to put up with and what you're not willing to put up with? And that can be a hard place to get to too,
Yeah,
right? Because you don't
yeah,
know until you experience it. Um, and it can come in so many different forms and you may not even realize that you have a problem with it,
right,
right?
right,
Or maybe you do, but you're like, oh, this is a small thing, it doesn't matter.
right.
But over a period of time, small things add up.
Yeah. And then sometimes because we don't love ourselves correctly, we get into situations where we can't necessarily get out of.
Yeah, you can, but now you just made it shit ton harder to get out.
Right, right,
Yeah.
yeah, right. So, but I mean, I think one of the ingredients to self-love is experience,
Mhm.
is to have that heartbreak or to or like a situation go left or whatever it is, be able to experience like, okay, because I didn't have this love for myself, or I didn't develop this love for myself, this is why this situation went this way.
Yeah.
And so the unfortunate thing about it is you're going to have to experience that, that uh that situation going left. You just have to
Yeah.
experience it. And there's nothing you can really truly do to avoid that.
Right.
But what we can do, and like what we talked about in the beginning of this episode, is go through it, do your lessons learned, learn about it, figure out, was this issue that I could have, is this something I did, is it something they did, is it something that I'm allowing to happen that I could have stopped, you know,
Mm-hmm.
months ago, years ago, days ago, etc. So just that's what this self-love thing is about, man. Is really just taking that necessary step, those steps, and just stepping back, just do a bird's eye view and see what's going on in your world. And it's like, is this what I envisioned? Is this what I want? And if not,
Yeah.
do something about it.
Yeah, and making that next step. So like that's the progression of the conversation is what do you do when you are in that moment, right?
Mm.
The moment that you are faced with that. So what do you like? What do you do?
Like when you're in the
Yeah,
chaos.
yeah, no, yeah. So like you've gotten to a point where you didn't address it initially, and now you are here at
And
this
it's
moment where you're like, man, I feel like I'm buried under this.
Yeah. What do
Right?
you do?
What decision do I have left?
I think what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna accept the loss you took.
Hmm.
That's the first thing.
Take it on the chin.
Take on the chin. Be accountable that, hey, I let this get to this point because of the fact that I didn't either, say something
Hmm.
earlier, or I didn't put that boundary up before
Yeah.
and say, hey, we're not doing this, we can't do
Hmm.
this. So it's taking it on the chin plus accountability, and then now we have some action behind it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people can, like you say, it can get messy because sometimes people do the action, but then there's no self-assessment and no like self-accountability
Right.
behind why you got in that situation. So you do the action, resolve the issue, but then what tends to happen? You get it might
You're
be
moving forward.
right. You move forward, but then you might be in a similar situation. It's just the players are different.
Hmm.
And so that's where it's like, okay, cool, the action's there. but you're missing the part where you got to learn from it.
Yeah.
So that's what I think you should do when you're in the mix of a situation where you didn't give yourself enough grace, enough love to say like, hey, this is how I'm gonna do it. This is why I want to do it, and you didn't follow through.
Yeah.
But how about yourself, man? What do you think? What do you think? How do you operate in chaos, and where do you find that self love in that chaos?
Blow everything up
Hey,
and start over. Um,
that's action.
yeah, but so going further into that, right? Um, out of everything that I've learned over the past probably 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that's the most formative years that I've been on my own,
All right.
figuring things out. So the past 10 years have been quite eye-opening,
Yeah.
right? Going through long-term relationships, going through the long-term relationship with myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Seeing the evolution of myself
Mm-hmm.
is a big one, and it's also very important to understand that this is this is you with other people, and this is you by yourself, right?
Oh, yeah.
Understanding that, like, hey, now I'm unhealthy, I have a heart problem, and da 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 da, all based off that you didn't set a boundary that you have to eat healthy and you
Yeah.
have to live a healthy lifestyle to live a long time,
Yeah.
right? Period.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in a bad relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what are all the things you were doing during that relationship, right? Were you being some type of way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number one, look at the self.
Yeah.
Number two, look at the other person. And then number three, look at the relationship.
Yeah.
Right? Those three factors,
Yeah.
when it becomes involving someone else into your life,
Yeah.
right? Whether that's a spouse, whether it's a friend, whether it's a coworker, da 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 da,
Exactly.
all of those things. And then if you're having a lot of conflict, understand where that conflict's coming from. It can be you and it can be them, and it can be a mix of the two.
Too. Absolutely.
And then, some people are just not meant to be together, right? And then some people are.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to learn what is love about. Love is not easy, right? It can be,
Yeah.
but love is going through the process and trials and tribulations and still being like on the other end of it,
Yes, sir.
I still got your back.
Yes, sir.
Right? And that's love with yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Holding yourself accountable.
Yeah.
That's love with another person, whether it's your buddy or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's love with the spouse.
Absolutely, man. It all starts with you. That's the main thing that we're both getting at. It all starts with you. If you can't figure out how to love yourself correctly, what makes you think you can love like you said, your spouse, your family, your boys? Like, how can you expect to love somebody correctly when you don't even take the time to figure out yourself and love yourself?
Yeah.
You know what the loudest thing is when you're by yourself? Silence.
See, that's a funny thing, bro, because me personally, like, I love being in that silence, dude.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And it kills Zyra, dude.
Yeah.
Like, she can't stand it, dude. I won't even recognize it, dude. I'm just there and I'm eating dinner or whatever, and because I'm so used to it.
Yeah, man.
Like, I'm just I'm in that space.
Yeah.
And silence doesn't affect me. It used to.
Same.
When I was young, dude, I needed music, I needed this, I needed to be around people.
For sure.
And that started to fade away after a while.
Mm-hmm.
When I kind of started getting things in order.
Yeah. You got a little stability within yourself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, dude, I'll be eating in silence and just be quiet for an entire weekend.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh dang, I ain't talking in 5 days and I ain't heard anything, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, but that now living or not living, but having someone around you can create this opposite of opinion or opposite of thought, and then you start kind of realizing like, oh, I am always in this, and it may not just be the simplicity of like what we're talking about,
right?
It can also be a more or it may not be as complicated as what we're talking about today.
Yep.
It may be something more simple, and they're like, hey, you just always been around a loud family.
Yeah.
Right. And you always are thinking about that.
Yeah.
And that may be how you operate.
Right.
Right. And so there's so many complex things, but understanding, the progression of the conversation again is being able to be with yourself, right?
Sure.
Being in that silence, being, when no one else is around, what are you doing? How are you operating? What's going through your head? What's the loudest voice in your head, right? Like that whole conversation. How are you operating in life? Like, when you have to wake up in the morning, are you waking up? Right? Are you getting up, you handling the shit you need to handle?
Right.
Because we all have those weeks and months and years where we just don't operate the same way that we used to.
100%.
Um, Hang on, let me call you back. I didn't mean to hit that. But those are the things, right? So you're going through the process, you're going through the conversation with yourself, you're going through the thoughts, and you're clearing space. And the most important thing that you can do is allow yourself to have space during the day.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because there's so many times in life, like I'm kind of going through that chapter right now where from the time I wake up, I'm moving.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
Like it is on and then it is off.
Right.
It is on and then it is off.
Right.
And there's no space. And oddly enough, I don't feel.
You don't feel weird about
I don't feel weird about it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is just what it is.
Yeah.
And that's a scary spot.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, do you feel like that can be a bad thing where you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, dude, I'm not journaling. I'm not doing anything.
you just kind of going, just living.
Zara and I did that 12-mile run
Yeah.
through Atlanta
Yeah.
last weekend.
Nice.
Finished it, whatever, but I got my ass beat. I haven't conditioned, I haven't done nothing.
Yeah.
But I got my ass beat.
Yeah.
But I finished. And we finished in time and we ended up actually doing like 15 miles because I was bad on navigation.
Yeah.
And she's just like,
Just going through it.
like,
It's nothing.
damn, bro.
But that.
I want to add something to this, and I'm gonna let you run.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think?
We had a difference in weight, right? She's gonna say something, she'll probably mention it. There was a difference in weight, but during this process of thought, I had the idea of like, this is such a I had my gun. I had, some other things in my bag. I had water. I had my 25 pounds, and then I had, some additional items. So my bag was probably like my loadout was probably like 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Right. Not terrible.
Right.
But over 15 miles, that's gonna stack up. But the whole process, like she was just moving and grooving. And one, because she is very healthy and she is athletic.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The other half, she was also carrying 10 pounds. Right. And with that whole process, she asked me the entire time, she's like, do you want to switch weights? And I was like, no, like I'm not switching weights with you. Right. One, because of my ego. Two,
Right.
because I made this choice as this is my responsibility to carry. Like this is my weight to carry.
Yeah.
And I was having like this dichotomy thought because I was expecting us to have a conversation soon. It was like, this is part of being a man. Like your job is to carry the load. Her job is to carry, a lighter load.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's my job to be the lighthouse when she's the waves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you cannot be that foundation for your woman or whatever your spouse, if you can't be that foundation, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And this is my burden to bear as a man, right? And this is kind of where we're, the conversation kind of leads to is like, yeah, but at what point, bro, are you going to allow that weight to be shared? Right?
Yes.
Because in my head, I was not ever going to allow her. Like we could have gone 50 miles, dude. She was never picking up my pack.
Hold on. Yeah.
And to the extent of I'm not going to finish this, right? You will not carry my pack.
Yeah.
Because I decided that I needed to carry my gun. I decided that I needed to do this. I decided that I needed to, you know what I mean?
Yep.
These are my loads to bear.
Yeah.
And I was like, Alex and I are probably gonna have a good conversation about that. But what are your thoughts?
No, man, I loved everything you just said there, man. Because I was going to ask you, when you gave the reference of, we got to be the bearers of the relationship. Like I like the analogy with the light. You're the lighthouse, and she's the waves. I think what the danger in that is, and we both do it because we seen our fathers do that.
Hmm.
So it was instilled in us early. But two, we also seen our fathers take on a lot and not say nothing.
Hmm.
And they still both turned out great, but you definitely see moments where it's like, man, he has a lot.
You see the
You
cracks.
see the cracks, right? You see the cracks in the foundation. And so I think that's where we have to really be, just mainly focus on our relationships. We really just have to, tell our significant other and our spouse, like, hey, today I'm cracking a little bit. You mind helping me with
Yeah.
a couple things, and be okay with it and not take it as a stab at your ego.
Hmm.
But you also have to be with the right person as
Yeah,
well,
because
that
that person has to understand.
right, that you're not Superman,
Hmm.
you're not superhuman. So
Yeah.
when you're with the right person, you admitting that, hey, I need a little help, and she provides you like a solution or something, that actually, it's like this, right? Like, you got the crack in the foundation, right? She provides you a solution, and she not only empowers you, but she fills in those cracks that you have, and now you're reinforced.
Right.
So now you can take on even more because you know of the fact that, hey, if this does get a little too heavy for me, I start cracking. I know that I'm not going to give her the whole load,
Hmm.
right? But hey, just can you handle this for me? Can you handle?
So
Yeah,
this is where I'm going to tie into that.
yeah,
And I'm so happy you said that because there was an additional part.
yeah.
She stopped asking to carry the load,
Mm,
right? And we're on the home stretch, dude. Like we are quarter of a mile out,
mm,
half a mile out, somewhere. Let's just say a mile out.
right.
And my motion is going like, and she's just do, 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 like she's just rocking. And dude, I'm on struggle bus 101,
Yeah.
right? And like my pace is super slow and like whatever.
Leg
She
shot.
came up behind me, kind of started picking up that pack from behind and kind of like jogging with me.
Yeah.
Bro, I had never in my life experienced a woman that is able to do that.
Nah, that's
Because
cool, man.
stopped asking
That's cool.
and just immediately was just like not pushing me, but like she
She
was there to kind of like
just
she was
assist.
pushing me. Like
Yeah,
she
yeah,
was doing what she needed to do in the moment because she knew that I was not going to release
yeah,
the weight.
yeah.
And so that laying back into that, like, yeah, the filler of the crack,
Right.
right? To where your faults are and where you are able to hold her up
Yes,
to where
sir.
she needs to be.
Yes, sir.
She is also there to um, help you finish the race.
Just
Right?
empower you, man.
Yeah.
Nah, that's it, man. But let's wrap this up, my brother.
Yep.
So, mind, body, and spirit. How can we apply self-love to those three pillars?
Do hard things. Get good sleep. Get up when you're supposed to. Be active. Pray or journal. And or
I love it. I love
what you
it.
got?
I'll say for the mind, be curious, continue to learn, because I think that is a form of self-love, is learning new things, experiencing new things.
Mhm.
Open your mind to new ideas and new challenges. Don't be stagnant.
Yeah.
Physically, well, body, physically. This, and honestly, what I just said for the mind, you can apply to the body as well. I
Yeah.
mean, you just gotta, just stay consistent. You're gonna have times where you're not as active, but uh, you know, it's okay to get a little soft, but
Yeah.
don't
Don't be silly putty.
right. Don't be so funny, right? So yeah, just continue to stay consistent. Also just and find ways to challenge yourself.
Mhm.
And figure out how you can, do something, some physical activity with something that you thoroughly enjoy as well. And then spiritually, um, I think just spiritually, you need to spend time in silence. And me personally, like, I'll give an example, like, even just times when I'm just in the car, drive, commuting to work, There's times where I don't listen to music, and I'm just, just talking to
Hmm.
God, and it's like, hey, God, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what I got going on. Just give me the strength to really just, just navigate it, through your guidance. Now it might look weird to other people because I'm sitting there like I'm really like talking like I'm talking to somebody in the car, but you gotta have those intentional conversations with God because, me personally, us as men and just as humans in general. You can't necessarily hold on to all that weight. If you are a man of faith and believe in a higher call, you need to give that weight to God or whoever you is your higher purpose. So yeah, that's the biggest things that you can do for self love that applies to all three of the pillars. So that concludes our episode. Like I always say, we are just two brothers just having a authentic conversation. We're not really investing too much. We just want to keep this very authentic. Like, share, subscribe to the Three Pillars of Man podcast.